Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Sitting inside for this one. So I wanted to do this because basically it's winter now and every year we have another winter. So this is a diesel heater. These are just your run-of-the-mill Chinese diesel heaters. I just want to go through basically your service and to repair the issue that I'm about to talk about, because they are a serviceable thing and they do need servicing, like every year or two, maybe even every year, depending how much you use it, depending on quality of diesel, depending how high you run it. To prevent this issue, I reckon every month or two, just crank your diesel heater to max and just let it run for like 10 minutes just to really give it a good burnout. The symptoms this one was having was it was blowing a ridiculous amount of smoke, like you couldn't even see outside, like a huge amount of smoke, and wasn't lighting. It was just sort of a loud whir out the exhaust, like real, but not like a deep sound, like echoey, and wasn't actually lighting and heating. So we had this given to us because the bloke thought it was, he thought it was rubbish because it wasn't working. He just bought a new one. First thing I noticed was this is your exhaust. Now the exhaust was just blocked up with carbon. It was just like honeycomby, charcoaly shit in there. I scraped all that. Now actually I will say before I go too far that I have fixed this one. Before I did the video I wanted to find the issue, fix the issue before I could tell you guys the problem. So I scraped all the carbon out of there, cleaned all that exhaust right out. Now is for inside time. Now this isn't a hard job. It's like, look at this, I've got a set of Allen keys here and a little shifter. That's basically all you need to do this, and I'll go through a couple other things that go wrong with them while we're in there, and I'll show you how to do that. So first step is obviously pull your heater out. To pull your heater out, you got exhaust and intake underneath the van and your fuel line. So you know they're probably just either a spring clamp or a little ratchet or something to get them. Now this has got this rubber thing on the fuel line to seal it up. Now we slide this gasket stuff, but hopefully yours isn't. If it is, I recommend jump on eBay or somewhere and get a new one. But that just slides off. So number one part. Now the easiest way I found to do this bit is stand up on end, undo your intake side, just a nut, slide your bonnet off. And there is a tool I forgot about, and that's the glow plug spanner. So just give me a sec, I'll just grab the glow plug spanner. All right, glow plug spanner. If you haven't got one, you'll have to order one off eBay or one of those places. Our first heater came with one, so I'm pretty lucky. So heater comes straight out of this. Pretty easy, bang. Now what I'll do is, I didn't do this bit last time, but I think it might work better, is if we sit that back together. Alright. That might give us a workbench, because they're a pain in the ass to sit on the table. Now on this side here we have our glow plug. Actually we'll take this off. Oh, I need a Phillips head. Right, now in some of these, this screw here in the computer is an Allen key. This one here is Phillips head, whether that's been changed or it's just a self-tapper, so I don't know if it's been changed or it's just what they are. So that there lifts your computer off. You'll have a couple of plugs underneath. Take notice of where they go, because I'm pretty sure you said they're interchangeable, aren't they? Yeah. So those three plugs are glow plug, temp sensor, and your fan. So glow plug is this one. Take your rubber boot out, and then we'll quickly rip that out. Now the glow plugs do give trouble. I have read quite a few reviews where people have had to get new glow plugs, and I think on eBay and that they are cheap as chips. We haven't had the issue at all, but that's your glow plug there. They're not much at all. Now this on top, sitting at the back here, is your, what is it, housing temperature sensor. So that there we have replaced on one of ours. And just in the front here, I'm brailing around, you have a metal clip slides in. So you got to slide the clip across and then pull it up, and then your temp sensor comes out. So same thing, you can get them on eBay, cheapest ships. I forget the error code for them, I think it's E09. And you can chuck a new temp sensor in. That doesn't have to come out to do this job, but I just wanted to show you while we're pulling it all down. It just sits in there and then that clip goes straight back in with your new one. So glow plugs out, temp sensors out. Next job is, we throw that aside. We start at the top here. Now this is your fan, which we also did on ours. So I'll be keeping this one as a good spare because they get a little bit noisy. So you got 4 Allen key bolts. Let my fingers do the talking here. I'll just strip these 4 Allen key bolts out and then we'll lift the fan off. All right, so that one was all out. 4 bolts out. Now our fan comes off. This housing here is your intake. Intake from underneath the van is this one, which controls the intake fan. So this side here is your intake fan that sucks up through underneath the van, through this impeller, and then regulates the airflow for the diesel engine itself. And then this side of the motor powers the fan that blows air over the unit out the other side to heat your van. Now when this electric motor shits itself, you can buy just the electric motor, or for about, it's like $5 or $10 more, wasn't it?
I think so.
To buy this whole thing. I recommend buy the whole unit for the simple fact, this one here pulls straight off, right? That's easy, but it's not the pain one. This side here, because it's heat treated plastic, like yes, it sounds like aluminium, but that is plastic, and you got to get a nail and try and get someone to hold this side and punch to get this pulley or this fan off. Behind that fan is 4 bolts to slide the motor out. Whereas if you buy this whole piece, that is it. You just drop that new one on, bolt it on, and you have a new fan motor. Just like we have a new fan motor now. Thank you. So that's job 1. Now inside this we have 4 Allen keys that we undo next, which takes off this next housing, which is housing the fuel line and the actual combustion chamber itself. But I can't remember if it's the same size Allen key. It is, righto. So we'll just undo these. These ones here, you got to be a little bit careful because the threads are bound up a bit because of how hot this aluminium gets. Gasket. So I'll get on to undoing these 4 and then we'll lift that off. Alright, so I do recommend when you put it back together, chuck a little bit of anti-seize on these ones because they do bind up, right? So next thing is, combustion chamber comes out. Alright, we'll just chuck this on the table. So this is your combustion chamber. So this piece here, your diesel comes up your fuel line into your, we'll call it the injector. Straight in the top there is your glow plug. Your glow plug obviously heats up enough to ignite the diesel, which is coming in through here. And then inside there is your combustion chamber. Now that was where the problem started with this heater. That combustion chamber was chockers with just shit. So anyone that knows diesels, it's soot. So it was jet black, it was carbon. I had to sit there with a screwdriver. You could use carby cleaner and like a wire toothbrush and clean all that right out. And then inside here, your actual heat exchange itself. I don't know how it looks now because it's been working since we cleaned it.
Yeah, a little bit dark.
But that in there, you couldn't even, it was just smooth around the outsides. Same thing, it was a screwdriver to scrape it all loose, carby cleaner and this wire brush to clean it all right out. And then at the bottom of this is your exhaust. So obviously, you know, to have combustion, we need air, which we're getting from the front. We need fuel, we need ignition. But if the exhaust isn't letting out all the exhaust pressure, then it's not going to ignite. And then if this is all carboned up big time, which it was, then even if it lights, it's not going to circulate properly. It's not going to heat this heat exchanger up to the potential that it's going to heat your van. So basically, like I said, we got down to this stage that we're at now, and it was a case of cleaning all the exhaust out, scrubbing this right out with a wire brush, cleaning this right out, cleaning the outside. I flushed a bit of carby cleaner through the injector itself. And then it's a case of put it all back together. So I'm not going to show putting it back together because we just pulled, or should I? What do you want? You reckon? We'll put it back together. All right. So pretend we've just cleaned all this. I'm not going to bother because it is working again. So now that everything is clean, everything is dry, making sure everything is dry, because remembering we have flames, we have a lot of heat. And in here, we have a gasket. If any of these gaskets are damaged, just grab a new one. It's not worth risking fumes into your van and getting an improper air-fuel ratio and all that sort of stuff. Now, I think that went incorrect. So heat exchangers go, combustion chambers going back in. We'll say that way. There's a little rubber thing here somewhere that I just missed. Make sure your little rubber around your fuel pipe's in. So when I spoke about air before, I forgot to say, so where that air comes through from the bottom of your intake, it pressurizes this chamber here. Then around this combustion chamber, you have all your slots, slits, gaps, where the air is pressurized into that combustion chamber to get your ignition. So once again, we've just put never sees on these. Well, you have, I haven't, because I don't know what we're going to do with this one. I think we'll just turf it, or maybe if someone wants it, we can give it away. I was going to keep that fan motor, but right, so I'll just chuck all these bolts back in. You don't want to watch me do that, so the magic of camera. All right, so those 4 bolts are in and tight with never sees, because trust me, they'll seize. So as you can see, there's your hole your glow plug goes into. Don't worry about the phone. And yeah, that's the combustion chamber it's thread into that we spoke about. So I hope I've sort of gone into enough detail for everyone. I think I have. If you got any questions, just shoot them through. But as you can see, it's not a technical thing. It's just a case of taking your time. Can you see which way that goes for me?
Yeah, that way.
Taking your time, and you know, if you're not sure, just keep referring back to the video. But make sure it's clean. That's the biggest thing. And like I said, depending how much you use your van, like I think we're gonna have to do this about every year, because we go south for winter, so we're running our heater for 6 months straight, and you do get some shit diesel. And you know, when it's not that cold, you're running your heater low, and the lower it is, the more soot and more carbon that's going to be built up inside it. Like I said, every couple of months, if you crank it right up, really burn it out, you might be able to get a bit longer longevity out of it. But next is our fan, which just drops straight back on, and then we'll put the Allen key bolts straight back in this. Alright, so all Allen key bolts are in. Now, like I said before, every single part for these Chinese heaters that you pull apart, like every single part that we just played with, then you can buy on eBay and probably other places. Very, very readily available and bloody cheap, guys. Like the whole fan housing and the impeller wheel inside, I'm pretty sure it was like 40 bucks. Like, that's super cheap. Like there's no, and that's really the only part that you're gonna have troubles with. Like I said, the temp sensors can play up the same thing. They're only about 5 bucks. The computer module itself, I don't actually know. We haven't looked at them, have we?
No.
But I assume you'd be able to buy that computer module. Now the hard part with these, right? Now, if your heater shits itself, the actual heater, you are better off buying another kit. Okay, like you can buy just the heater itself, but the chance of your computer module matching your controller is very slim. They are sort of, even they'll all plug in the same, all the plugs are identical, but it doesn't mean that your controller will match your computer. There's a good chance it won't. So if you do have to buy a new one, make sure you buy the whole package. now we've got that back to complete. We just got to chuck the computer on, but I won't be able to film this because this is Em's job because I can't see the plugs. But before we put the computer on, as my camera person just informed me, we have to put in a glow plug and a temp sensor. So once again, glow plug goes straight in here. Be gentle with your glow on the end, don't go bashing it around. And from memory, I think these are only pretty cheap too. Where's the plug spinner? It actually blew me away. Before we did this video, we sort of had a look into some stuff and how much it all is and what's available, and it is amazing how cheap it all is. Alright, glow plugs in. Put the rubber, oh, I can't say that word, what would I call it, rubber boot. Rubber boot in. As you can see me fumble. Am I going the wrong way? Alright, so temp sensor. This one may be an M job. So, oh, my fingers. I'll just get M to chuck this in because I can't see this sit down in there, and then we'll come back. So as you can see, temp sensor's sat back in under that bar, rod, pin, whatever you want to call it. And then that just sits straight back in. I'm on the wrong side of that. Straight back in across that little hole there. And now we have all the wiring we need to plug the computer in. So now Em can do that and we'll come back. Alright, now the computer is on. Now there is one thing you really have to check. The wiring that plugs in all underneath, make sure it's routed away from this fan, because the wiring does run quite close. So if you put it around the wrong way or that sort of thing, just make sure if we put it together, just give your fan a quick spin. We'll put the screw in somewhere here. Right, yeah. Alright, all the wiring's tucked away. That's the wiring from the box. So that there is basically a clean, serviced, ready to go heater. The other thing with your servicing is make sure you check your fuel filter, because just like on your car, you got to think you're pumping the same diesel through this as you're pumping through your car. So if you get a bit of dirty diesel, well, you're getting it in your heater as well. So heater back in, drop straight in. Don't forget to put your wiring grommet
Forward a little bit.
Forward a little bit like that, apparently, so I'm being told. Wiring grommet in. Before we put the bonnet on, I'll just quickly, my version will quickly, go into detail how these actually work as a heater. So you hear a lot of things on the internet, people saying about, oh, what about exhaust fumes? What about fumes? What about fumes with a diesel heater? Basically, if that gasket in there is good, then it is impossible to get fumes from this unit inside your caravan. The only part that's got fumes is the combustion chamber inside, which is going through an exhaust outside into the atmosphere. You know, that's Joe's Blow's problem. The actual unit itself, the heating is from the external of this heat exchanger. So you have air sucking in from this side, which is, in our case, it's under our dinette. The air blows past all of this, past your heat exchanger, which would be, I'd imagine, glowing hot, blowing hot air out this side through your duct, through your van. So your actual hot air is not coming from any heating source. Technically, it's just coming from this hot aluminium. That's the only way you're getting your hot air, is that the air blowing over this unit. So the air has actually got two purposes. Like I said, it sucks in here, blows out here. Purpose one is to keep this heat exchanger at an acceptable temperature, which is measured by that temp sensor, which is why if it's not working, it throws an error code because your computer doesn't actually know how hot the unit is. So like I said, purpose 1 is keeping this at an acceptable temperature. Purpose 2 is that air that it's blowing over it is what's heating your caravan. So like I say, if that gasket's good, it's impossible to get fumes. It's literally as simple as that. So from this point, we go bonnet back on. Let's see if I can fluke this straight away, which I never do. Which I did. Intake back on. That there, watch out where you've got it, where you've got your heater mounted. Make sure there can be no fluff or cotton. Like if it's under your bed, you've got to watch fluff and cotton. You know, if you got a dog, you got dog hair, dust, because if this blocks up, then that's going to restrict your airflow. And I just cross-threaded that, didn't I? There we go. Now that there is basically the same as all heaters. So all your diesel heaters, they might have a different color. The computer and the controller might be different, but the actual heat exchanger, combustion chamber, and the fan will all be the same. Your glow plugs, all that, like I said, is all on eBay, all easy to get. Whether it's a 2 or 5 and 8 kilowatt. I think these housings even have, I saw on one of them, it was written on it. It was like 2, 5, 8 kilowatt. They're all the same housing. So that there is basically a full breakdown, how they work and how to service your heater. So don't forget to like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel, any comments leave them below. I can do more of these if people are interested in. And yeah, I'll see you next time.